Good afternoon and welcome to week 3 of MPA 594. My name is Jared Kachmar, and this week we will be coming up with a scenario, and I'm going to try to keep the scenario brief, but it's important I do identify some key things that are happening in the scenario because it directly affects the themes that I'm going to apply to help change what's happening. Okay, my scenario involves a lack of cross-department collaboration for the City of Indio. So basically the departments for the City of Indio, the police department, the finance department, community service department, etc., they're supposed to be collaborating together in promoting service days within the city per the city manager. So the city manager wants the current leaders and the elected officials to work together to promote effective, let's say, community cleanup days, electronic waste days, etc. So it's going to benefit the city and it's going to benefit the residents of the city as well. The problem is that current leaders and elected officials are not doing that. And because they're not communicating effectively due to hidden political agendas, it's causing morale issues within the entire department. So the goal for us is let's change the management style a little bit, and we're going to look to improve the morale within the departments to help them develop better relationships. And then the goal is obviously to remove any political influence that is preventing that collaboration. Okay, as we look to implement some change within the City of Indio, I'm going to use 3 themes, and those themes are going to directly relate to my specific made-up scenario within the city. And those 3 themes come from Wilson, Gulick, and Follett. So we'll talk briefly about each theme. We're not going to go into too much detail regarding all the theories and the structure and the organization of that. I'm only going to pull pieces from each theme and apply it directly to my scenario. So if we're looking at management, we might just grab the CO in POSCORP and just look at coordinating for the purpose of my scenario. So how could our city leaders and elected officials coordinate better and work with their staffs and change their current management approach to fit that of Gulick's approach? And how could that affect and will that affect change within the city? So we're not going to break down each theme. We're just going to pull one or 2 pieces from each and then apply it to that scenario. Okay, we're going to try to be brief on all our themes, and we're just, like I said, just pull pieces from it. So the first change that we can implement for the city would be that of applying Woodrow Wilson's separation of politics and administration. Now, we know by now all the sayings and quotes from Wilson: if once politics is removed, the field of administration is a field of business, and how he wanted government to be more business-like, and how administrative questions are not political questions, and we understand all that, and that theory will get deep, and we're not trying to implement that entire theory for this city, especially in this scenario dealing with cross collaboration. But we're going to focus on his ideas on the relationship between elected officials and administrators. So that's what's really affecting the city right now. Currently, political agendas and political pressure are preventing public administrators from communicating with elected officials and vice versa. And at the end of the day, that is affecting the public. So if the city community services director won't contact the finance director to promote a neighborhood rehabilitation project, the city suffers, the community suffers. And that goes back, looking at Wilson's theory, I always think of, when I think of Wilson, the Constitution. Obviously, he was the President of the United States, but his theory is more about the U.S. Constitution, and it goes back to the belief that he feels that they took an oath and they swore to the U.S. Constitution, and that they are not going to allow political pressure or agenda to affect what they're doing on a day-to-day task. So that piece of trying to separate, politics and administrative, and let's keep a level head and no political pressure should influence our decisions is what we're trying to grab out of that. So that little piece is what we're going to put into this scenario. Okay, I know we previously talked about Wilson and his politics administration dichotomy, and next normally would follow with Weber's bureaucracy, but we are going to look at a management theory from Luther Gulick, because I believe this theory on organization directly applies to my scenario with cross-department collaboration. So Pascal describes the planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, which is the essential principle and piece we're going to take out of this, reporting, and budgeting. So those 7 principles make up his theory. Another key thing to mention under the coordination is when Gulick emphasizes the theory of unity of command, and that specifically is what I'm looking at, and that's basically how each worker should only have one direct superior or supervisor, and that's basically to avoid confusion, and we know that that confusion can lead to inefficiencies, and that's what we're having issues with. Part of the problem with the city of Indio, if we have 2 superiors giving city workers different directions and different information, when they cross-collaborate with different departments, the information is then going to be miscommunicated, and not only are the city residents going to suffer, but the public administration as a whole is going to suffer, and it's definitely going to take a hit with the trust of the public. As I talked about the important principle, we know it's essential because Gulick kind of talks about how every organization has several sections or parts, and those parts, if they work independently and they don't consider the other sections or their other parts, it's going to create problems. That's going to lead to the inefficiencies we talked about. So by incorporating this management theory, starting with the city manager, of course, and his functions and how he passes this down to his public administrators and the leaders of each department, this theory can help change some of the issues that are happening with our scenario. Okay, the last theme that we can implement for this scenario would be that of Mary Parker Follett. And basically, we are just going to look at her group and human cooperation theory and how she approaches that. And it always goes back to coordination with her. So she always believes power with rather than power over. So working together to achieve the common interest of everyone involved. And that's the job of the manager. So the city manager needs to help everyone within the city offices and those public administrators within the city of Indio, get them together, get them working together, put aside the political agendas, put aside the biases between the chief of police and the director of public works, or whatever the case is with the departments, and just focus on the overall good of the community. So by pulling together these managers, by forming a leadership team of all the departments, hopefully that will increase employee morale, because the public will start to regain trust with this administration. So currently we're having issues with people in the public, complaining about certain employees and they're not doing their job and they're not informing the public of these community cleanup days. But this can kind of change that, and by working together and combining every talent of each unique worker that we have, it's going to come out for the greater good of the organization and for the administration. Okay, a brief recap here. So the unique scenario, the made-up scenario that we had here for the city of Indio was a lack of cross-collaboration in informing the public and informing other city departments about community event days. And that was happening because of political agendas and personal agendas, as well as a lack of management style from our city manager, and it was causing a decrease in employee morale. So Mary Parker Follett will help with the employee morale. They're working together and combining all the talents of our unique staff and our unique city employees. And then we looked at Gulick's POSCOR, so focus on the coordinating aspect there, and also Woodrow Wilson. So we do believe at the end of the day, accountability is the main aspect of our scenario. Why are we having public administrators not follow what they are supposed to be doing because they are being influenced by someone else or by something else? So those three themes, while they are unique, we start with Wilson, jump to the 1930s with Gulick, and then we finish with Follett. So they are three unique themes, but they do tie into this unique scenario that we talked about today.